New report this morning now saying that thousands of foreign nationals are off the radar and some may be joining that fight with ISIS in places like Syria and Iraq. New York Congressman Peter King's a member of the Homeland Security Committee. Is with me now from his home district on Long Island. Sir, good morning and welcome back here to America's Newsroom. From the New York Times this morning, they say ISIS is now recruiting foreign women as jihadist wives. It also goes on to say that the number of Americans who have joined that fight since January has doubled. They now believe more than 100 Americans have fought alongside these groups. And the tricky thing, too, here is that if they're coming from the U.S., they're harder to detect now because it's men, it's women. It could be Muslims. They could be Christians who converted to Islam, and they come from various parts of the United States. That must be an intelligence nightmare. Based on what you know about this group so far, what do you pick up on?
Well, those numbers that you gave, they are reasonably accurate. It's very difficult keeping track because also not everyone who's going to Syria to fight goes directly to Syria. They could be going to another Middle Eastern country. They could be going to Europe and working their way down into Syria. So it's not only those that we know are actually going to Syria, it's others that may have worked their way into Syria that we don't know about. And there's others, again, there's so many people traveling all the time. And so it's a real challenge to the intelligence community. You add to that the thousands of Europeans who are fighting in Syria, who have European passports and can fly into the U.S. without having to apply for a visa. So this is a tremendous challenge to the intelligence community. They've been working on this now for a year. There's a special task force set up which deals with ISIS, with trying to keep track of these foreign fighters and U.S. fighters who are going over there. But this is a real challenge, and that's why when the president acts as if he has to come up with a strategy now that this is something new. I mean, everyone in the security committee, in the security community, law enforcement community, intelligence community, has been aware of this challenge for at least a year. So I don't know where the president's been on this.
So do you think that the intelligence community wanted to act and the president did not? Is that what you are hearing in Washington?
Well, I've known now for a period of time how seriously the intelligence community is taking this, and I know that this has been presented to the president. Now, from watching Secretary Gates and General Dempsey, it's obvious to me that the military wants to push forward more. I know from sources I have in the intelligence community, they feel more should be done, much more should be done. And again, they're looking for something coordinated. Instead, the president invariably, he'll take one step forward and one step sideways, and he sends this mixed message out. And that's what's having an impact, too, I think, across the board, as far as our defense and our intelligence people, is they're not certain what the president wants. But as far as the reality of the threat, they have no doubt it's there, and the more has to be done.
I get the point you're making there. Who wins that debate, then?
I would hope that the president comes around and realizes that the military and the intelligence community and more members of the House and Senate are right, that he has to take firm action. He can't be apologetic about it, and he can't be sending a mixed message. If we're going to fight ISIS, and I believe we have to take them on directly to destroy them. The president can't be having it 2 and 3 different ways. That should be one way, and that's to destroy ISIS.
Chuck Hagel said there's 100 Americans joining that fight, maybe more. We don't know. Why would it be so difficult not knowing now?
They're saying, Bill, because you could have people who have just gone to the Middle East on what appears to be legitimate travel. You could have people who have gone to Europe and worked their way down into Syria. So it's not always clear who's fighting and who's not. They could be over there, again, on a family vacation, for all we know, and they work their way into Syria.
I guess the best answer, then, is there is no real way of knowing that.
Just try to get the best intelligence we can, monitor it as carefully as we can, interrogate people. But again, we need, in that case, we need more intelligence assets on the ground in Syria. But it is, this I can tell you. The FBI, the CIA, Defense Intelligence, Homeland Security, all of them are doing all that they can. But I think it will be a lot, it will put us in a much stronger position if the president showed leadership. And what we're doing now is playing defense. We have to be much more aggressive, and that's why we have to go after their command and control centers in Syria. We can't allow ISIS to just basically be able to function in Syria.
Perhaps that's the next page in this chapter here. What is your expectation out of the NATO summit? Do you expect much?
I think there has to be more. Yes, I'm now reasonably confident that you combine David Cameron and President Obama with all of this groundswell of opinion building up, I think he's going to be compelled to take action. I prefer that he did it voluntarily, but I think he may be pushed into it a bit. I think even what Joe Biden said yesterday is going to make it almost essential that the president have a much tougher and more coordinated action with the NATO allies. The more allies we can get on board, the better. But they're not going to get on board unless they're convinced the president's going to follow through. He didn't follow through last year with Syria, and that's caused some bad feeling.
Peter King, Republican from New York. Sir, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
20 minutes past. Martha?